Alrighty out there. Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, or whenever you happen to be watching today's episode. My name is Jonathan Bengal, and I'm the host of this show, Naked Tax Talk, where we bear personal lives, our business lives, and our money lives. And I always get asked, Jonathan, why do you show up on your show naked? And the truth is this is the way that I cultivate courage by being naked. We do this by showing our vulnerability and being willing to bring that up so that we can talk about it, so that we can clear out the mud, so that we can grow out of that into something beautiful and amazing. You know, babies, at the end of the day, our clothing is just drag, according to RuPaul. So, without further ado, I actually have a fun guest today. Her name is Alexis, and she's going to be joining us tonight. And we're going to be really more casual. Hello, Dr. Charlene. We're going to be more a little casual. We're going to talk more about just traveling and cakes and maybe those kind of cakes. I don't know. And we're going to talk about a whole bunch of fun stuff. And we're going to tie it all back to taxes. So without much, I already said that already. Further ado, I'm going to bring on my guest, Alexis. I'll let her introduce herself. And with that, let's talk about our personal lives, our business lives, and of course, our money lives. So Alexis, welcome to Naked Tax Talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So tell my viewers a little bit about who you are and what do you do and, all that other fun jazz.
Well, I kind of coined myself the crazy entrepreneur. I have a background in jewelry and gemology, and I kind of changed over to doing cake decorating a couple years ago, and I do like fancy cake boss style cake, which are super fun. And then kind of a twist I added in there was I came across a passion of getting people healthy. So when I was in the thick of making cakes, I was tired and worn out, and I found a way to flood my body with fruits and vegetables, and it helped my family and my friends. And so I kind of took that on as my main career, and I still dabble in the cakes and the sugar because that's
we have to eat cakes. I mean, we have to eat goodies and deliciousness, right? I mean, can you imagine if we just only ate vegetables all the time, how sterile that would become, right? So I totally get it. I totally get it. Alexis, so let's dive into it. So you said you play around with cakes in a way. You decorate them, you bake them, you eat them, yum yum yum. And you also talked about vegetables. So I kind of want to dive into there just a little bit. Tell us a little bit about these vegetables that you're talking about.
Well, I love to help families with tips and tricks and ways to get healthy. And I love to talk about the core four because it's so important for us to take care of ourselves. Because when we take care of ourselves, we really take care of our kids. And I've also found a newfound interest in wanting to help business owners because that's kind of what I was. I was a tired, worn out mom, making cakes, staying up too late. I was burnt out. And that's why I learned about flooding my body with fruits and vegetables, which is actually fruits and vegetables in a capsule. And I learned about that, and I only wanted to help my kids because as a mom, that's what a lot of us do. It's all about our kids. But then I learned that it was really going to help me, and it helped me jumpstart, and I had the energy to do my cakes and help my kids. And when we take care of ourselves, we can take care of our businesses.
That's great because, like kids, I mean, I know when I was growing up, I wasn't necessarily a vegetable eater. But then again, we lived off of potatoes and beans, so I guess those were my vegetables. But I would imagine this is a great way to get kids to get nutrients into their system.
Yes, totally. A lot of parents worry about kids getting all the important fruits and vegetables into their bodies. And this way they can kind of relax. They're getting the fruits and vegetables in with a gummy or a capsule, and they can just relax, take their time, building good habits, and not worrying so much.
So why was this important for you? Like why is that important for you? Making sure your kids and you and others get nutrients.
It's important because the way our bodies work is through phytonutrients. Like it's a major tool. Everybody knows we need protein and carbs and fats and those basic things. But if we don't have that phytonutrition, our bodies don't have the tools to do what it needs to do. And the basics on that is just being able to fight off um, colds and viruses and anything like that. So we need those tools to stay healthy. And then in the bigger picture, there's a lot of disease in the world that comes from inflammation, and fruits and vegetables reduce inflammation.
That's great. So, in terms of business, how does getting these nutrients into CEOs like you and me and everybody else out there who owns a small business, let's be real, how does it help us to make money?
Well, it's kind of like when you get on an airplane and they're telling you about the oxygen, and they always say put the oxygen on yourself before your kids, because if you do it to your kids, they might not be able to help you. It's the same thing. You have to take care of yourself, especially if you're a solopreneur and you're doing everything. If you're not taking care of your body, you need your sleep, you need to be hydrating, you need to do your exercise, and you need to be flooding your body with nutrients. If you're not doing that, it's just this whole fragile cycle that will collapse. So you need to take care of all of those core things, because when you take care of yourself, you're going to be able to have the energy and be able to run your business the way you want to.
Perfect. And clean and think clearly, right? About, like, dare I say, we're on a tax talk show, our taxes, right? And our finances and our money and everything else that comes with it. So how long have you been, is there a name of your company that you represent, or tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I partnered with the Juice Plus company, and they are a company that's been around for 50 years,
Okay.
and they're backed by research. We have over 40 clinical studies, and I just love the integrity of which the company stands for and their products.
Nice, very nice. And how long have you been doing this for?
I've been working with them for 6.5 years.
Love it. And obviously it works, and there's a benefit. Obviously you wouldn't represent something that you didn't believe in. So that's fantastic.
Yeah,
So
no,
now so now tell us a little bit about your cakes. I want to know about your cakes and what got you started in cakes, because I got some stories about cakes. So tell me a little bit about your cakes and how, and yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
So when I first had my kids and I was staying home being mom, I went to art school, so I'm creative. I always like to jump into things and have fun with it. So I started making birthday cakes on their birthday, and every year I found something new and creative to do, and I would kind of up my game every year. And then one day, one of my friends was like, "Hey, will you make a cake for my kid's birthday?" And then it kind of snowballed. Um, so that's how I jumped into it. And then I had never taken a class. So I went down to the local Michael's craft store and took the Wilton cake decorating class. So I was like, okay, maybe I have something here. So I took that class, and then during which I was teaching, a woman came in and took my course. So for 3 months, we sat together once a week and we did our class. And at the end of it, we had chatted and we both were into business, and we had these big dreams of like what to do next. And she was like, "Hey, you want to go into business with me?" So we did.
Oh,
Just
wow.
like that. We jumped in and we started our cake decorating business, which is actually called Sugar Treasures. Um,
Is that still going on?
it is like I kind of took a break from it for a few
Hmm.
years, but actually COVID and this whole quarantine situation has brought the business back around. Um, just
That's
because
interesting. What are people ordering cakes during COVID? So what do you typically see people going, I'm ordering a cake for, and during COVID? So what's like the reasons?
birthdays, mostly birthdays, a confirmation cake. I've had a Halloween cake. People are really, because we can't have big celebrations, I feel like people are going big on the cake. They
Okay.
want something really fancy, really decorated, and to make their event special, because we can't have a lot of people and we can't go anywhere, so they can do that.
So correct me if I heard you wrong, but I don't think I did. So are you mean to tell me that you went into a partnership with somebody else?
I did.
What? That's great. So now, did you know that you were kind of getting married to them in the eyes of business?
um, I didn't at the time, but she's my best friend now, so like, it's okay.
That's awesome. So, you know what's kind of cool about partnerships in the world of tax and especially in business? If I may I share this with you?
Yeah.
So the reason why I said, did you know that you got married to somebody without you realizing it? So in business, when two people come together and they decide, let's do business together, and if you don't structure it any other way, but just by the default of two people coming together, Uncle Sam calls this a general partnership. And the tax is treated very similarly to a sole proprietor on a Schedule C, except it flows through on a Schedule E. And it's picked up, if it's active income for the partnership, it's picked up as self-employment tax. And if one doesn't plan correctly, you can find yourselves with a huge tax bill when you create a formal general partnership without any kind of loopholes built into it. So what's fascinating is, and you don't have to answer this question, but did you guys have a prenup put in place?
Well, so we actually created an LLC.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So,
All right.
And we have some like rules built into it.
Perfect. So we'll call this your partnership agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what happens, right? So you're an LLC. So let's talk about that. So limited liability company. So the most people who talk to me usually are going, I'm forming an LLC, and they're by themselves, right? They'll go, I'm gonna go form an LLC. And so we always say, oh yeah, you file a Schedule C if you're single member and you're not electing to be treated as anything else. So you're just gonna file, right? And what's fascinating about the LLC, the limited liability company, is I can have multiple members be part of my LLC. And so when people come together, and so in this case, you and your really best friend, you come together and you create something called a general partnership. So the LLC is your legal protection. So you guys accidentally drop, a razor in the cake. I don't think you would, but let's say you did, right? And I go to eat it, and I'm like, right? So then I'm going to go and sue, right? This is what the LLC, right? So I go and I sue the company who made the cake. And it's got the LLC, so I'm going to sue the LLC. And of course, it's going to be limited. The damages will be limited to the assets inside of the LLC, right? Which might be the pan that the cake was baked in, or something like that, or your mutual checking account, or something like that. And needless to say, so that's a legal protection, limited liability company. But the other side of it is the taxation of the income. And we call that a general partnership, unless you're electing to be something else.
Okay.
Did you know that?
No.
So that's cool. So now you could, so you get to brag two ways. You get to brag and say, I'm a partner in a partnership, right? Or you could say, I'm a member in a limited liability company. So those are your two bragging rights. That's so cool. So you guys came together and you decided we're going to make cake. So tell me a little about what's like the funnest cake you've ever made.
Well, I made this. There's a school called the Baldwin School in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, and it looks like a castle. Crazy big. And I actually went to high school there. Went actually 5th grade through 12th grade.
Oh, and it's all together in one? They keep the same school for those grade levels?
Yeah, it's K through 12.
What? Oh my God, that's like, so it's, okay, all right, cool, all right.
Yeah. It's a really cool building, a lot of great history. But anyway, they asked me to make a replica of one part of the building for a special event they have. I think that was the coolest cake ever.
That's cool. What's like the cake that when someone said to you, can you make this cake? And you were like, oh crap, how are we going to make that? Have you ever encountered those?
Yes, definitely. Sometimes I always have that panic on putting cakes. I did a really cool, what I think is really cool, Avengers cake with like the Incredible Hulk fist coming through.
Oh,
So
that's cool. That'd be cool.
I had to carve sculpt the fist. I was a little nervous about that, but it worked out. We did a really amazing bar mitzvah cake. It was, I think, 5 tiers high, and we ran those little fairy lights on the backpack. We ran lights all throughout the cake, so it lit up.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah. We did. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, we replicated his bow tie. The kid loved bow ties, so we replicated his bow tie. We replicated his cell phone, all in sugar. It was very cool.
That is so cool. So now, tell me, do you watch any of the cake shows?
I do, yeah.
And my husband's big into that, actually. That's why I asked.
My favorite show is like hasn't been on for a long time. Ace of Cakes.
Oh yes, I remember.
That
Yeah,
was like the first like big one, I think.
it
I
was.
love.
It was the first reality cake show that I remember because that's the guy that's right in New Jersey, or is
No,
that Boss Cake?
that's yeah, Cake Boss.
Yeah, that's okay. So, but two different shows.
Two different shows. So Ace of Cakes is the one in Baltimore.
That's right, and they're more like elaborate, and they got like teams and all that other stuff that create
Yeah,
these elaborate
they're
cakes.
more
I
like
okay.
artists, not like Ace of. I mean, what's it called? Cake Boss is more like a bakery, and they do cool cakes. Where I think Ace of Cakes is more like cake art. All they're all
Cake
art. So.
art. Do you think that these people eat the cakes when they make them? Because I'm always like, all the stuff you put on there is crazy.
Well, that's kind of going up with the name. Like, I wanted this name that conveyed that it was obviously sugar and edible, but that it was like a treasure, And like, I thought about this name forever. Like, how can we convey this? So when I came up with Sugar Treasures, I thought it really fit well.
Sugar Treasures, is that the name of your company?
Yep.
Sugar Treasures. Order your cakes. Do you have a website or anything like that?
Yeah. We are www.sugartreasures.com.
Love it.
And
Sugartreasures.com. So there you go. So you got to go get her cakes, plain and simple. Plain and simple as that. So all right. So you do veggies to offset the sugar intake. You got married to your best friend through business. We'll call that a general partnership. And it turns out that you apparently it's not going to let me make a comment. All right, fine. So so you do that, and then I thought you mentioned a third thing. Did you do something else?
yeah, I started off in my career world as a jeweler and a gemologist.
There you go. Okay, so I gotta show you something. All right. So when I first made my first $100,000 in 2017, when I made my first 100,000, one of my friends convinced me that I needed to put on a piece of jewelry, and I'm not a jewelry person at all. Like, there's nothing. I don't really wear anything. And we went to this jewelry store in Prescott, Arizona, in downtown. And I was looking at the rings and everything, and whatever. Like, it doesn't do anything. But the back of this one case, there was this gorgeous, gorgeous ring, and it's the right thickness. Apparently, I like it. It's like, and I realized this is the moment when I realized that jewelry is very personal, right? Like, this is why I could never shop for a piece of jewelry for my husband, because I realized for me it was personal. So here's my ring. Let's see if we can do this. Oh, it's not the best focal point, but what it is, it's
Is it emerald?
18 karat white gold, and it's 8 blue diamonds.
Oh, blue diamond.
Yeah,
Cool.
blue diamonds,
Um,
and it's 40 itty bitty little diamonds all surrounding it.
like
And
Robin.
what's funny is my friend said to me, "You got to buy this ring," and I was like, "No, I'm not buying the ring. Like, I'm not into that, blah blah blah." So as we're leaving, because he's big into jewelry, so correct me if I'm wrong. So he says to me, "Could I convince you that your ring could be an investment?" And I said, okay, now you're kind of talking because, I won't make decisions just to throw money away. So I was like, okay, I'll listen. And so he had said to me that he could prove that the diamonds would be worth a lot more than what I'm paying for them, and the gold itself. So he brought up all these websites and was showing me, and I don't know what else, blah, blah, blah. And he convinced me. So he did the salesperson's job for them.
Wow. They were happy that day.
And I turned around and I walked back in and I said, I'll take that ring. So they got it all dressed up and everything, I remember, and I got it all prepped. And she goes, okay, let me see your ring, your finger. And she put it on, and just as she was putting it on my finger like this, I was like, oh, you just took away my virginity. You just popped it. And the whole jewelry store broke up in laughter. They could not stop laughing. Like, it was like, right? Because like, you took my virginity. And I wear it every single day. And every single day when I look down at it, to me, I see my accomplishment. That's what it represents to me, as my accomplishment. So I have to ask you, what got you into jewelry and gems and all of that fun stuff?
Actually, in my high school, the Baldwin that I was telling you about, they had this fantastic jewelry department and like making jewelry.
Wow.
So I took it in ninth grade and I just fell in love. I love the craft of it. I love, cutting the metal, soldering the metal, finishing it up. And it was so pretty and shiny. And I just loved it. So I just took to it and I did that all 4 years. And interestingly enough, I was choosing between going for pre-med or jewelry making for college.
I would imagine that both require the very good dexterity. And
Yeah.
I would imagine cake is the same way, right? So I'm not allowed. So for the record, I'm not allowed in the kitchen. So I'm not allowed. My husband does not allow me to be in the kitchen because apparently I'm one of those cooks that like has a billion pans out and the flour is all over the walls and the ceiling and the floor. So what kind of cook are you?
Um, I'm not, I've gotten better, but I might have been like that at one point in time.
You would
Yeah.
not be allowed in his kitchen.
This person, I have to say. I'm actually in my husband's office because my office is not fit for an interview.
That's okay though. I think it's a sign of being a genius and being creative. That's what I've been told. So I mean, my workspace isn't exactly the greatest, but I do know where things are. It's so funny. So I had the mail guy come in the other day, and I'm slowly learning who the mail people are when they come in and stuff like that. And the other day, someone came in and gave a package, and I realized I looked at my office, and I'm like, this does not look becoming of somebody who's like me, like fabulous. So I actually had to clean my whole office again. And it's so funny. So like Paige, who's my director, her office is like very neat, and all of my employees I've ever had have always been very meticulous, and very like. And then you come into my office and it's like, oh yeah, this guy's totally creative, total genius, like shit's all over the place, right?
I think your brain can only handle so much, right?
I think that's what it is, and it's so funny. So look, this is how. Okay, I'm about to tell the world how crazy my brain is. My brain has to use 4 notepads, so I keep 4. Technically, I now just got a 5th piece of material that I got one of my accountable buddies, Jocelyn. Shout out to you. She had me get this thing called iFocus, and I have no idea how it works. So we're trying to teach someone like you and me who are creative how to live inside a box. We'll see how this turns out. I don't know yet. So the jury is still out. The verdict is still out. I'll let you know if I actually follow this thing or not.
Yeah, I've tried many. It doesn't end up working. And I end up with notebooks like you or just papers, like a stack of papers that slowly build on my desk.
Yes, but I do know where things are inside that pile. I will say that. I'll be like, oh, I know there's something in there. I remember where. And then I got to dig through it and find it and whatever else. So we're getting to the segment where we should talk about taxes. And earlier you mentioned you do have a tax question actually, and I'll let you pose your question and let's see if we can find some answers.
Okay. So I travel a lot for my business as well as for my husband's business, and we both have our own businesses. And when it comes to tax time, we don't know what to write off for our travel because sometimes we also bring our kids, and do we write off like our hotel for all of them or all our meals or our plane tickets for all of us or just him or just me?
Okay. So before I start the segment, I want to let the world know that my lawyers have advised me that this is not tax advice, nor should be construed as tax advice. It's just for the mere entertainment, but there's a lot of truth to it, just saying. And you should definitely consult your own tax professional. Now, if you don't have one, come chit chat with me, just saying. So let's talk about travel. So travel is quite fascinating. In fact, we call this a underutilized hidden deduction to business owners. Now, depending on the entity structure, so ironically enough, Alexis, where we have to start is the entity structure first. That's always my first question is what's the entity? Because the entity will dictate further how the travel costs are going to be deducted on that tax return. So, for example, you just mentioned you are in a general partnership, aka the LLC with your best friend. Mm-hmm. So if you're doing traveling in that scenario, and you two decide that I didn't even ask this question, but you're on the East Coast, right?
Yeah.
And what state are we in?
I'm in Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia.
Oh, perfect. I know the area. So, okay, so you're in Pennsylvania, and you and your best friend, you guys are like, you know what? Let's travel to like Jersey City. I guess you could go there. Uh, right? Or at least Atlantic City, right? So
Right,
you're
at
like,
least,
let's
yeah.
like go to Atlantic City and hang
Well,
out. So you guys drive out to Atlantic City to the boardwalk, and you're going to set up an agenda, and you're going to talk about your general partnership, right? You're going to talk about your minutes that you're going to keep. So you guys are going to call the hotel, and you're going to book a room, one for each of you, right? You probably will drive because it's within driving distance. So you'll hop in your car, you'll rent a car. Better yet, don't put miles on your own if you don't have to, right? And you'll probably pay for tolls along the way because when I drove in New Jersey, that's a whole other story for another day. I couldn't drive, let me tell you. You guys are cray cray over there. But my husband can do it because he was born and from there. So he's from Milford, New Jersey. So, anywho's, so you drive over there, and then while you're there, you're gonna have some meals, right? While you're having some steak and having some buffets and stuff like that, right? So all of this stuff is for the purpose of business. In this case, I'm talking about you and your girlfriend going out as a partnership. So because you went there as partners to have a conversation about your business, right? And as long as you don't do anything cray-cray while you're there, Uncle Sam says, yeah, we're going to deduct the rental car, we're going to deduct the hotels, the meals subject to 50% limitation, we're going to deduct, you know, if you guys decide to go on an outing to continue bonding with each other, like an activity or something. Although entertainment is not allowed, although there's a loophole that I'm not going to get into, but there is actually a loophole that does allow it, but only under the structure of the C corporation, and as potentially a partnership if you had employees. But again, it's too complex to go over right now. The point is there is a loophole. It's just very complex. But otherwise, entertainment was disallowed effective 2002. So out goes the old and had fun. And we can no longer do that. So, but we can at least go have drinks. So, so that's kind of what you really are taking into account. Now, when you travel for work, for business, in the case of your own personal, so the cake business, so let's say in the example of the veggie business, right? So again, you're thinking, what's my taxi, my Ubers to get there, right? Am I renting a car? Am I driving my vehicle? Am I paying for parking? Am I paying for the storage to house the car while you're traveling? The tickets to get to your destination to and from, your meals once again, you're eating while going and coming back, right? And of course, for the purpose of business. And of course, anything else that's related to your travel. So where things get muddy is if I'm a sole proprietor. Buzzing coming from. Do you hear the buzzing? Whatever. Hopefully we can do it past the buzz. So, all right. So what we do is, okay, so now here's the thing, right? So when you guys go together as a family, we have to talk about hogs get slaughtered and pigs get fed. All right, that's very important. So the hog move would be to deduct everything. The kids, you know, the suitcases, you name it, right? Like it would deduct everything. Like deduct it all, right? Total hog move. Now, legally speaking, as a sole proprietor, it's the owner who's incurring the cost for the business. But so this is why I say if you're going to take your family, as crazy as it sounds, here's the technique. You would use your company credit card that you've set up to separate yourself from the business, and you would purchase your ticket, your spouse's ticket, and the kids' tickets. Okay, so we'll talk just the tickets. So you use your business credit card to pay for everybody, right, to go and to come back. When you do the bookkeeping, all right, so at the end of the trip, you come back, and now you're going to do the due diligence on your part by being the CEO, CFO of your own company. You're going to see the charge. So let's say that the travel, just the tickets portions, was $3,000, all right? From that $3,000, you're going to subtract your spouse and your kids. Right? Because they're not in the business. They just happen to be with you. They just happen to go with you. But they're technically not part of your business, therefore non-deductible to the business. So there's like a little bit of, right? And that's true for like the taxis and the Ubers and the miles and the meals, all of that. You're in this case, the spouse can only really claim the spouse's portion. That's really the way it works. Now, ask me if there's a loophole.
Is there a loophole?
There is a loophole. So, in my 6-week program called Rapid Tax Savings Formula, I actually go into the details of how we hire our children and our spouses. So, if I was to hire now my children and my spouse, and I take them on a business-related trip, and I assign them a job. Okay, so I'm not saying you hire the kids just to get the deduction. No, 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 no. Illegal. Ex-nay there. So instead, you have to make sure you give the spouse and the children a job. Like legit a job, right? It can be temporary. We have seasonal workers all the time. So let's not even bring that into the conversation. So what you would do is you'd say, okay, what can my kids do that's reasonable to work inside of my business? So for example, how old are your kids?
15 and almost 12.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
Perfect
You know
word.
why? I like it because it turns out that children, all right, who are under the age of 17, so 17 and younger, and preferably before 7 or after 7, sorry. So 7 to 17, so that 10-year gap, all right? We can employ the kids, but you got to give them a job, right? So give you an example. So you guys go, what's the nature of your husband's business?
He's a musician.
Awesome possum. So people hire him to play at gigs, right? Well, if I know anything about musicians, because I happen to be one, I know that you've got like your devices, your microphones, your headphones, the guitars, the drums, that you got all of this stuff that you're bringing on to the scene, correct?
Yep.
Alexis, what's a job function your kids could have?
A roadie.
There you go. So you would hire them temporarily, a seasonal worker, right, as a roadie. And which, by the way, that was the name of my dog. And then she passed away of 17 years. Oh, anyways, so Rhodey, that's to you. I'm thinking about you. So, needless to say, what happens now is the kids go with you, but you're also his wife, right? And you don't own the company. So, what's a job function you could provide?
I'm the manager.
Ta-da! Right? So, and he's the star, right? He just got to look cute, which I'm sure he is. He's got to look cute. That's all he's got to do. Show up and do his gig, right? So now the whole entire family is employed, right? Now, what I'm not talking about is the cost. So let's talk about that real fast. If I hire my family, I need to document it. I have to have them fill out timesheets. I need to make sure I have the proper withholdings being done on the income depending on the strategy and the structure. And trust me, it sounds easy. It sounds simple. But there's so much complexity that it takes an hour and a half to teach this to my clients. So the general gist is that you would hire the kids and you, the spouse, in that moment, or maybe many more moments, right? In order to get that travel business. Oh no, you lost audio. I hope that it's not me. I really hope it's not me. If anyone who's watching my show, if you're actively watching my show, can you just please comment? Let me know if you still hear me. We've been having audio issues tonight, so I just want to double check. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? So with that, so now the whole family, so now we get to deduct all of those travel-related incidences, right?
Yeah.
What? Yes. So there's another little secret that I unfortunately cannot really talk about on this show, which requires you out there, the viewers, to have a chit chat with me. And if we put together a tax plan, I can share with you even more strategies that you can employ to tap into the travel deduction. So does that help?
Definitely.
So that's what you do. You got to hire the kids and hire you. And you can do this across platforms. Now, I will share this with you. There is a perk that comes with hiring the children. All right. So here's the perk. Actually, it's kind of like a two-prong approach. It's my new thing now. Two-prong approach. So the two-prong approach is prong number one. is because they're 17 and younger, as long as I'm filing on a Schedule C on a 1040, all right, be very clear, as long as I'm doing that, then the children who I hire are now exempt from FICA withholding. So they don't pay FICA tax, which is your Social Security and Medicare. And the employer who's employing the children, which is the employer, which is you, right, does not have to pay the employer's portion either. So it's an instant 15.3% tax savings. Yes, babies, I just gave away a huge, huge tax strategy. So with that being said, that's something we can utilize, right? We could put the kids to work. Now, why does Uncle Sam want us to employ our children? Can you guess? So I don't know about you, but when I grew up, I grew up with zero financial literacy. So I didn't know how to, actually my mother, because we had a fixed income of $500 a month, I had to help my mom add and subtract her different bills and things of that nature. So at least I knew enough to go, she only brings in $500, and then from there she subtracts her little expenses and so forth and so on. But needless to say, in terms of how do I invest? How do I retire? How do I save? What kind of deductions can I take, right? All these fun things, right? How do I pay for my clothing? And when you're a kid, you think that stuff comes to you because it's guaranteed to you because you're a kid, right? And unfortunately, the children don't understand, our kids don't understand that it takes your money, it takes you to work to make the money to give to your kids, right? To give them the cool PlayStations and the cool shirts and all that other fun stuff, right? So their conception of money is irrelevant. It doesn't exist. They have no concept of it. So Uncle Sam wants us to hire our own kids so that we can teach them financial literacy. So we can teach them what a dollar really means, or now it's $10 it feels like, right? So here it works. You pay your kids for the job, right? All right, give them $100, $200, whatever. And again, follow your state employment law and federal law, just saying. And so now your kid goes, Mommy, Mommy. So for example, what's one thing one of your kids has already asked for Christmas? Or holidays?
Computer parts.
Computer parts. Okay. So he's like, is it your son?
Yes.
The oldest?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's like, Mom, I want like a motherboard for my computer. Now, those days, I don't even know that stuff. Okay, so now you're like, okay, so the motherboard is like $500. So you divide that by what you want to pay him, and that will give you the amount of hours he has to work as a roadie in your business, right? Or in your cake decorating business, right? Although the rules changed because it's a partnership now filing the tax return, just saying. So the point is that you can get your kids to do different job functions. So now what happens is you go, okay, son, so you're the motherboard's $100. So you got to work 10 hours, assuming $10 an hour. All right. Follow your state rules and federal rules. And now he's worked 10 hours for you. Okay. And depending on how you set up your employee handbook, which they will need to read and sign when you hire them, right? Your employee handbook might say, we start paying you from the moment we leave the door to the destination in another state to perform on stage until we get back to the office, which is your house, right? So that might be your policy. So in theory, that's how he gets paid his 10 hours, right? Because it starts from the day the door opens. It's kind of like when you were a flight attendant. I applied to be a flight attendant, actually. The exits are in the front, the children is in the back. And so I know that where I was going somewhere with that, I was trying to make a joke and then see how I got sidetracked. So the point is that the kids are like, oh, that's it. So flight attendants get paid when the door gets shut. So the moment the door gets shut, that's when their paycheck starts until the plane lands and that door opens, their check stops. Did you guys know that about flight attendants? A whole new level of respect, would you say? Wow. Yes. Yeah, they don't get paid. As soon as that door, only until that door closes and it opens again. Otherwise, they don't get paid, which is crazy. So anywho's blues. So you create the same type of structure in your business, right? Because it's your employee handbook, right? And so now he's like, I want those computer parts. So you cut him a check, $100, right? It's his payroll check. And it's coming out of the business checking account as a real payroll check. And it goes into his checking account where it just so happens you're joint ownership of it. So now you say to your son, I don't even know your son's name. You don't have to give me his name. But what's his first initial?
Jay.
Jay, perfect. So be like, Jay, so here's your check, $100, right? And he takes it. Now he's going to be like, I have $100. And you'd be like, yeah, that's the money you can use to go buy your monitor. That's the check you can go buy clothing with, right? So now he's starting to understand the concept of money. What do you think about that?
That's pretty good. I love it. And I've always been very pro my kids understanding the value of money.
It's perfect. And it's not just you. I mean, it's all my viewers out there. Yeah.
I love it.
And so it's a great way, right? And so then, I don't know about you, but in real life, we have to pay rent, and we have to pay for our own food, and we have to pay, right? That's what we do as adults. So in theory, there could be a rent to the room. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So you're really starting that process of like, look, this is what it takes to make $100, number one. Number two, here's what things cost. And oh, by the way, you owe me rent. Now, that's one idea, right? There's many more ideas. So when as a certified tax planner and coach, we work on just hiring a kid, just a monitor, right? Like we would have other ideas. So anyway, so that's how you get your kids to travel. Now, there's one other loophole I'll mention about traveling. So let's not bring the kids on this trip. So you and I, we're going to go on a trip, okay? And you and I, we are business partners, and together, you and me. And we decide that we're going to host a partnership summit in Vegas. So would you like to come with me to Vegas and have a partnership summit?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And in this world of COVID, you have your virtual office in Pennsylvania, and I've got mine here in Arizona, and we're business partners. And we decide we're going to fly to Vegas, and we're going to risk COVID, okay? And we're going to have a partnership summit while we're there. And we're going to send each other an agenda. So it's going to be an agenda, an email that's going to outline everything. And we're going to say, okay, so from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. or 10 a.m., we're going to talk about, our employees. From 10 to 11, we're going to sharpen our skills and learn, more cake decorating skills. From 12 to 1 is lunch, right? So we're going to have an agenda. It's going to be spelled out. And I want you, Alexis, to come and spend time with me together as partners in Vegas for just 2 days, for the weekend. Would you be okay with that?
Definitely.
So the partnership's going to pay for that room, for both our flights to get there, and of course our meals while we're there, subject to 50% limitation. So now, check this little one out. So the weekend's over, all right? So right now it's fully 100% deductible, subject to limitations with the meals, and life is great, okay? But then you're like, but my mom lives in Las Vegas. And you're like, I'm going to stay an extra day. Is that okay with you? And I'm going to be like, sure, stay an extra day. Not a problemo. Did you know that Uncle Sam says that if you do that, that the trip is still 100% deductible to you, to your business?
Wow.
So that's kind of cool, right? Now, notice that I said 1 day. I didn't say stay with your mom for a week. 1 day. Hogs get slaughtered, pigs get fed, right? So the rule is again, same thing. We go to Vegas, spend 2 days. You say, my mom lives in Vegas. But now you say, I want to spend a week with my mom. All right? Uncle Sam is still going to let you deduct that cost to go back and forth and everything. But just like we had you subtract the cost for the children and the spouse who are not employees, you're going to subtract the percentage between business use and personal use. So it's real easy math. You take all the days of the trip. So let's go from Sunday to Sunday. Is that 7 days? I think. I don't know. I play an accountant. I am an accountant, but it's one of those days, right? I think it's 7. Let's go with 7. And we hung out for 2 days. And you went and hung out with your mother for the remainder, for 5 more days, right? So when we do the math, it comes out to like the trip that we get to deduct, let's say it's 15%. Again, I'm just using estimation. So that whole trip is we spent $1,000, all right, between hotels and this, right? We're going to be limited to just 15% of that. which I think is $150 or whatever the case may be. I don't know, but you get what I'm saying, right? So that's why when we travel, we make strategic plans to travel and visit people. And as long as we don't overextend our stay, just like Benjamin Franklin said, right? Family and friends stink after 3 days, just like fish. And so that's a true statement in tax when you travel. So again, I go, I hang out, I do my business trip, I stay 1 extra day, maybe 2 more, at the max, maybe 1 extra. So 2 days max, right? I'm golden. I'm good to go. But the more I begin to extend that personal stay, the more that eats into my deduction. Did it help?
Yeah, that's great.
So that's how we handle travel.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. So with that, Alexis, I want to give you an opportunity to give us your information so that we can reach out to you if we want to get our veggies and get in our health and get in those vitamins that we need. Maybe how to contact you. We did that in the chat. I'll do it here again so that we can contact you. Now, you don't ship cakes. Could you ship cakes?
I have not figured that out yet, how to ship a cake.
Oh, perfect. Yes, family and friends after 3 days. Thank you, Paul. My friend Paul is watching the show right now. Family and friends stale after 3 days. Yes, it's true. Benjamin Franklin said this, and it's actually kind of true when you think about it. So, okay, so let's get you some information. So give us I put your website in there, sugartreasures.com. You may be able to, yes, stinks after 3 days. You may be able to order a cake. Maybe we can figure that out. There's some logistics in there. But if you're local to the area and you're watching my show, you can reach out and get some really fresh, handmade, amazing cakes. I know they're delicious. They have to be delicious. People who make homemade cakes, they put their love and energy like I used to when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I made cakes from scratch because it was cheap. Flour, sugar, water, and an emulsifier, which is going to be your egg, right? And some chocolate if you put some chocolate in there. Otherwise, you ate it and you smiled. So, with that, how else do we get a hold of you, Alexis?
I can give you my email.
Okay.
Ready?
And it is
Alexis Braunfeld at gmail.com.
That's easy. And I can spell this AlexisBraunfeld at gmail.com. If you want to reach out to her and figure out how to get your veggies in, and the convenience of doing it, by the way. So there's a convenience factor, a huge convenience factor that she didn't mention. But there is a huge convenience factor. You want to get your kids to get those vitamins in there as well without forcing broccoli down their throats. You can do it this way, or through a gummy bear and something. I like gummy vitamins. I'm not gonna lie. There's something about eating that gummy bear. It's fantastic. And then I also put in the comments. I'm sorry. What was that? Go for it.
I'll send you some gummies.
Yes. And then also, if you did not see it in the chat, sugartreasures.com. So I really hope, Alexis, that I was able to answer your question about travel. And now you also know how to employ your kids too. That was a double bonus for you. And without much further ado, I will say to all my audience, thank you so much for taking your time to watch today's episode. I really appreciate you all. Alexis, I really appreciate you for being a guest and being here and allowing me to share your fabulousness with the world. So thank you so much for being here on Naked Tax Talk.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Fantastic. So with that, if you yourselves are wondering, how can I really maximize my travel? Because honestly, guys, I just touched the surface of this particular deduction. If you'd like to know more, let's get naked at nakedtaxtalk.com. So again, that's let's get naked at nakedtaxtalk.com. You can also find me on my new website that I don't know if it's fully launched, but I don't care. So Janet, who's my branding strategist, I apologize right now, but you can go to jonathanbangle.com, and there you can book a time with me. You can schedule a time with me, and we can just have a conversation about your dreams, your wishes, and how we can turn your world upside down for the better and bring happiness into your financial life. So Alexis, thank you once again for everything that you've done and being here as a guest. And thank you to everybody who has watched this. Again, if you want to have questions, you want to be a guest on my show, let's get naked at Naked Tax Talk, baby. And let's just remember that we improve upon the self, the business, which is a reflection of who we are, improves, and the money, which is a symbolism of our businesses and ourselves, increases. And when you work with a certified tax professional like myself, your taxes go down. Until next time, adieu. Good.